Hi, everybody.
Hello, Sade.
So it is such an honor to be on this stage with these lovely people who I really want to take some time this panel to dive into the strategic thinking that it takes to build what you all have built. I think we focus a lot on the fun and, how it looks, and it looks easy. You guys make it look easy, but there's so much that goes into what you've created. Wouldn't you say?
Sure would. Can I just...
Absolutely.
Oh, are we good on the... You turn it down a little bit because it's reverted. Yeah. Testing. 1, 2. Okay. I think we should acknowledge we're in like a hella sexy villa in Cannes, and the culture is so out and about looking incredible and saying brilliant things. It's a big deal. I don't even know how old I think I'm 48, but it's like kind of living our dreams. It's a beautiful thing, and it's available for everybody. So
it's special.
Special.
And we shouldn't take it for granted.
Shouldn't take it for granted.
Great way to start. Thank you, Tia. Okay, so I want to talk about, I'm Sade Mohammed, CMO of Time and Chief Impact Officer. And Erin and Dia and I worked closely together on a program called The Closers, which was about 18 leaders closing the racial wealth gap. And they said yes to this event within days, I feel like. And I want to talk about Dia. Talk to me about what inspired you to say yes to The Closers and support it.
Closing is my favorite thing to do. So
you're very good.
So that immediately made it enticing. And then closing the racial gap is entirely what Erin and I and our other co-founder Dan built Pronghorn to be a contributor of. This thing has been confounding, right? To live in this historic time where we're really part of another civil rights era. But it feels challenging how little we talk about economics and economic engineering and financial impact so that communities can underwrite their own civil rights justice, right? And that is closing the wealth gap, frankly, is the skeleton to a successful ability to deploy civil rights. And yet it's mostly whispered about. It does not have the front stage that we think it should. So when you brought together an incredible room in New York of people who are dedicated to the specifics, how do you find capital? How do you access capital? How do you build organizations? How do you scale? How do you get to profitability? It was entirely in line with our mission.
Wow, thank you. That is very well said. Say that again. So it's a civil rights issue.
Oh, it's the backbone for civil rights to be able to be successful. We are all aware of the challenges with our education system and our justice system and our health system and the access to housing. But properly funded, underrepresented communities can actually properly have lobbyists and invest in their local schools and to have disproportionate pay of taxes and have great credit scores and like making sure you have the right dollars in your pocket to be free to pursue justice is critical. It's actually mission critical.
Yeah. Wow.
Please,
Erin.
No, I just wanted to add one thing about Pronghorn specifically. We are diversifying the spirits industry, but we actually created a template, a blueprint to diversify any industry. So when you think about the closers, it's like we're starting in the spirits industry with the Black community, but essentially you should be able to take this blueprint and apply it to any industry and close the wealth gap in that form. I think also when you think about the Black community and spending, one of the things that we learned just in building Pronghorn is that we're 15% of the consumption, but only 7% of the actual employment in the spirits industry. And so it's our job to make sure that we're putting employees in position and as well as investing in founders and closing the wealth gap in that way.
Love that. So I dove right in. So let me take a step back. And I want to hear in your own words, obviously everyone here knows who these people are, but I want you guys to just give me your introduction, who you are, what inspires you, and, a little bit about your story. We'll start with you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nworu, And first and foremost, I just want to say I'm blessed and highly favored. And I am honored to be on this panel, sitting with all of these, beautiful and intelligent women. Some of you guys I knew prior to going in, but the other ones I did some research on it. And I said, Sade, you got me on a stellar panel. So I really appreciate you. And I'm just happy to be here out in Cannes. Growing up, just listening to Jay-Z and all the other rappers rap about the South of France and Cannes, and being a little kid out of Newark, New Jersey, I would have never dreamt that I'd make it here. So, that's OD to like the hard work and the sacrifice that I put in. But yeah, like I said, I'm from Newark, New Jersey. I started an organization called PVOGLOBAL, which stands for Positive Vibes Only. Shout out to Kenny Burns. We had an event out in Ghana this past year, over 3,000 people. He came as a guest and, he showed love. He hopped on stage and hosted for almost 2 hours for the love. Now, I appreciate you for that. But it's a global event company where we host, and curate events all around the world, centered around promoting and amplifying Black positivity and just showcasing our excellence. And that was, we created that intentional. And our next event's in New York and then Atlanta, then, DC, and then back to Ghana and to South Africa. So I'll get into how spirits tie in later on, but I can go on and on. I'm sorry. I'm just so excited and passionate about what we do.
Thank you, Naz. Dia?
Hi, I'm Dia Sims. I'm one of 3 co-founders of an organization called Pronghorn. As Erin mentioned earlier, it was established as a template on how to effectively diversify an industry. There's a lot of DEI talk, but not a lot of clarity. I saw at organizations on what the methodology was, like how do you actually do it? So we had some free time during a worldwide pandemic. And we spent a lot of time working on the modeling and the math of, okay, we want to change an entire industry. Let's start with the industry we know, the spirits industry, and the community we love, the Black American community. But we're building an open code. So if oil wants to do it with left-handed sprites, you could do the same thing, right? And we focused on really just the numbers. How many people have to be owners of spirits brands in order to make a change, right? And we got to the number 57, which represents a lot of back work. We're now a year and a half in, and we have invested in 23 Black-owned spirits brands. If anybody wants to have an all-Black bar, please give us a shout, pronghorn.co. And then we're also driving 1,800 new Black American participants in the industry over 10 years. Number is not arbitrary. We figured out exactly how many people from intern to the board of throughout the spirits industry is required to get to a pro rata representation of the Black American population in our industry. And it's really being built as a case study. So tech could do it, oil could do it, any other industry can do it. And we're proud to say that we have already affected a 5% lift in Black employment year over year.
Wow.
Amazing. So I'm Ericka Pittman. I've known these ladies to each of my sides for longer than I care to admit, as in that would tell all the secrets. But I'm an author, first and foremost. I never lead with that, so I'm starting to change that. I am also a thought leader in the media, entertainment, and consumer packaged goods space. And I've been working very closely in the intergenerational workforce culture and doing a lot of consulting around that because Gen Z and baby boomers are like oil and fire. And I'm trying to help a lot of organizations to understand this younger culture and also the younger culture to understand what work really means. And in addition to that, I do fractional interim executive solutions. So I'm a jack of all trades and a master of some.
Love that.
I'm Erin J. Hall, and I'm also co-founder of Pronghorn. And yes, I've known everybody, and I love it, Naz, that you talked about events, because I think in the spirits industry, that's where consumers actually get their first taste or first sampling or first experience with the spirits brands. And just to be like integrated into the culture, I think that's where my experience lies, focusing on the nuances of how we move different trends within our community and how big brands for years have kind of taken advantage of our spend and what we bring to the table. And now we're trying to flip it on its head and make sure that we're A, launching our own brands and owning our own brands, and then B, showing up in our authentic selves. And so, yeah, I'm just glad to be here. Thank you, Sade. It's our second time sitting down and really vibing, okay?
More to come, and this is the best location that we've done it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Okay, so Dia, you talked a little bit about your strategy, but I really want you to break it down. What does it take to win in this industry? You've done it time and time again. And like I said, it could look easy, but we know it's not. Talk to me and us about what it really takes to win in spirits and in business.
Yeah, I mean, look, generally, not specific to spirits, but I think the thing that has worked well for us is, and we say this a lot specifically about Pronghorn, is that it's math-based, but it's heart-led. And I think we've been given these false choices of you have to sell, like it's either get a lot of sales, you have to kind of sell out to get a lot of sales, if you will. And it's not the case. I think what has been a winning strategy, A, is that you can win, doesn't mean somebody has to lose. And B, that the winning is still having an authenticity, a level of integrity, a level of kindness in the way that you move. And that doesn't mean you're not trying to make a lot of money and make profits at the same time, right? Going through the lens of accountable capitalism where like we are doing things for profit because the way to change an industry is to help the industry grow, right? Through impressions, through finance. But that doesn't have to be at the expense of like merciless old school corporate greed, which was, the rallying cry of the 80s. I think I'm really proud of this generation now that is saying no to that. And we're learning from that generation. And I think that has helped us build successful, multi-billion-dollar brands like a Ciroc Vodka, like a Lobos Tequila, like a 10-to-1 rum. Because first and foremost, we're respectful to the community that we serve. And we understand that we are truly in a service industry. And then the other specific nuance to our industry, I often say that customer service is in a state of emergency. And you go places and you just don't get the thank you and the yes. And I'm so grateful that you've chosen to be a client or a guest at our space. I think something that has worked well for us is we really understand the spirits industry is a part of the hospitality industry. You have any choice. And if you choose to be intentional about supporting a product that we are invested in, you make that choice in your glass, in your home bar, for a gift. We really appreciate that. And I could bore you guys with the 3-tier system and that you need this color blue versus that color blue is going to get you 100% lift in this store. And if anybody really wants a spirits TED Talk, I'll be here. But I think the fundamentals of why you go to work and how you respect the people you work to and you work for is the reason why we have been winning.
Love that. So on that note of winning, Erin, you guys have really leaned into from the marketing standpoint, storytelling, which is obviously, I think, critical. Can you talk about what inspired you to explore a new medium like film?
Well, I think, one of the things that have inspired us just in general is that if we take a step back and think about it from like a 30,000 foot lens, it's almost like the old saying, if you see it, you could be it. And what we haven't seen a lot of are the executives, the founders in TV and film taking those roles, et cetera. And so what we try to do is, A, tell the story about one of our brands, which is Delta Dirt. It's an amazing vodka made from sweet potato. And the background of this founder, particularly Harvey Williams, him and his family have built a distillery in Arkansas, and they're actually contributing to the economy of that space. And so they're, have a venue, they're, creating a restaurant and a bar, and they're trying to really rehab like what that space is. So we told his story, and I think the response, it's so crazy because I was in a meeting with the team and I'm like, listen, I want to do a feature film on this Delta shirt. And so our producer, Travis McMichael III, he actually was in the first meeting and he said, Erin, he was like, I don't know about a feature film, but maybe a documentary, maybe like a short. Can we start there? And I was like, fine, let's start there. And so we shoot it. We partner with Jesse Williams, actor, director. He's all the things. And crazy thing is he's actually a historian. So I don't know if you guys know his background, but he started off as a school teacher and he teaches history for middle school and elementary school students. And it's just amazing like how the group came together. And so in this storytelling, we felt like, okay, let's get this out there. Let's tell the story from a marketing perspective. As we show people the sizzle in the trailer, which we're going to show you today, we have people like AMC Plus interested, and they're going to run. Wow. Yeah, they're going to run the first episode in August for Black Business Month on AMC Plus. We went to ABFF and launched it, and literally was a packed house. And because I think it's just more than just the story of like this Black amazing family that's so inspiring. It's just about what we can do, what everyone could and should be doing moving forward. So I think TV and film is one of those places where like you can see us being our best selves and really contributing to the economy and closing the wealth gap. And so not just going and doing all of the spending, but understanding commercially like what it takes to profit and to build this legacy that's going to, you know, be passed down to his family, his sons work at the distillery. I mean, just an amazing story. And so I would love for you guys to see it. I think we're going to.
Yeah, I think we can we show a little clip?
It's really very difficult to reshape your perception of this place without wrestling with deeply painful histories. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Your dad sharecropped this land. Mm-hmm. His dad was a slave here.
Yeah, would have been, right. I had no idea the giant he really was. My granddad bought our farm back in 1949 with money he was earning making moonshine.
I mean, the Delta dirt is unlike any other in the world, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The Delta faces a generational cycle of disinvestment due to a lack of career opportunities and negative stereotypes.
I've never wanted to really come back to Arkansas, but I have an opportunity to do something that not many people have, and that starts here.
Before we had that, we were washing these potatoes by hand.
Putting a hand in handcrafted.
Yeah.
Local and national Black-owned brands of spirits making a name for themselves in the industry.
It's about camaraderie. As we display, that's what the bottle should bring amongst you and your friends.
Success is all about the value that you claim. I think significance in a lot of ways is about what you are able to contribute.
The meaning of that farm for our family is a big deal. It's a true family business.
Families from the Caribbean. So we wanted to create a vodka for the Caribbean to call its own.
We're producing crops from some of the richest soil in the world as far as I'm concerned.
That smells delicious.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wait.
Man, all this stuff actually starts in the field. The agricultural commodity that they take for granted.
Did you guys always want to have a family business?
Never.
What's it like working with your parents?
I think I'll need a couple shots to answer that one.
Understanding those roots born out of the plantation in the context of rum, you actually then begin to understand how it really is this underpinning of so many different facets of our culture.
Don't want to go back in the past, but want to be better than what you were.
Taking a leap of faith, but a really non-traditional leap of faith.
Great stories are told, laughs are had, and for a few very brief moments, you forget about the everyday stresses of life.
The way in which rum plays a role in broader Caribbean culture. We have this uncanny ability to activate celebration.
We're like seeing the next great export of the area, return to being culture, return to being an art form, return to being in the essence of the souls of the folks in this area.
It seemed to be that spark that people are actually taking steps to make those moves.
And what I love about this new generation is like, we are doing it unapologetically.
This is the type of Black entrepreneurship that we don't get enough stories about.
So I think that last line that Travis said is like, this is the type of situation we never really hear about. And so how do we get more Black stories out there? And Sade, I think this was the first time you even saw the trailer. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm like, when I have chills because to Travis's point, to your point, we're reclaiming this story. Because typically when we see stories of plantations, farm, agriculture, there's one narrative, right? And so, and it's an important part of our past, but it's not the only.
And we're telling it. We're taking control because we're telling the story. We're not subleasing it to somebody else to kind of sell out there on our behalf. And so I think that's also very important is that, this is ours. I'll say one thing before you go to Ericka, but Harvey, when they decided to go back to this farm, first of all, he's a Black engineer. He could make top dollar anywhere. And so literally, if one of those machineries broke, or if one of the machines broke, he could literally fix it with his hands. Like, he's like super crazy smart. But he felt like this was something that had history, that could create a legacy, and he wanted to go back. His wife was like, well, I love this story. His wife was like, well, Harvey, if you're going to go back, he's like, we got to do it or we not going to do it. So she was like, we all in or we all out. And I think that's just the energy that we need to, have behind building these businesses. And what Dia talked about earlier with winning, I think a lot of it is just the support, that abundance mindset of like, everybody needs to help. And it's a whole ecosystem. So even when we were promoting this, we were like, no, Ericka, I need you to post. Sade, what? Everybody, like every single person needs to tap in. And guess what? When you have something, we're going to tap in and promote on your behalf, and so on and so forth. So I just think it's just that community and really embracing that part.
I was just going to say, and just to your point, and you said something really profound, and even in the last panel, they were talking about this as well, right? So subletting the culture. We've been doing that for generations because we have never, first, there was a certain point in time where we didn't know how to create the infrastructure, right? And so, now that we've learned how to own our masters, quote unquote, right? Because I feel like the music industry did it first. Now that we've learned how to own our masters, we're creating foundations that allow for our own interpretations of our culture. Well, what I will say is the common impact is our culture and how we are commoditizing it for ourselves versus leasing it out to other people for pennies on the dollar.
Absolutely. And then with this other piece that we were talking about, actually, Ericka, you and I before the panel, is not doing it alone.
Absolutely. I've had people say to me, you should start a podcast. Why aren't you doing a podcast? And I've done a couple here and there with different people, but I'm like, why can't I just be on every other podcast? There's so many amazing platforms that already exist. Why do we have to create everything from scratch as Black people, to be honest? We can be more collaborative. And I love the work that you're doing, Sade, and, Pronghorn is doing. And how are we getting together collectively to do similar work together to make bigger impact?
I think that's the beauty of Pronghorn, right? It's not just one brand. We didn't see just one brand there. So that's powerful. Okay, Ericka, let's talk about your genius for a little bit. So you've driven change in so many industries and really driven growth for big major brands and people. Can you talk about how you center impact?
Absolutely. I have a saying that I kind of think I stole from Westmore, but I heard it before he ever said it, but he says it way more than I did. Really doing well by doing good is so important to me. I just feel like there's an opportunity for everybody to get at least what they need and a little of what they want in a situation, right? And so I've always operated from that space and a tremendous amount of integrity in the work that I do and the people that I decide to work with. But it's interesting. I've read a stat somewhere that like 91% of the world's consumers purchase brands switch a brand choice based on cause-related associations, right? So if a brand is associated with something good or altruistic, they will likely go and invest in it. But I think there's something to be said around cause-related and purpose-driven. Those are very different initiatives, right? And so you can tether yourself to a charity to check the box, right? You can start a DEI department to check the box. You can donate to a school to check the box, or you can really ingratiate purpose in your work and think about what it is that you're trying to drive change-wise and how are you trying to truly support the consumers that you want to invest in your brands. And I think the people that I've had the blessing of working with have always allowed a space to do that. So for me, it's always the product being superior, the people being at the forefront of whatever we're doing, whether that's inside of the culture or the consumers we're targeting. And then what is our true purpose and mission, and how are we driving that through the line?
I love that. So, Naz, you also have created, to your point, this global platform that's about impact and positivity for the diaspora. Can you talk about how Spirits has played a role in your success?
Yeah, first and foremost, I would like to say my proudest moment as an event curator has been like when we partnered with Uncle Nearest. And like partnering with Uncle Nearest and just seeing our guests respond to the fact that, it was a Black brand that was going to be the spirit-led, drink or spirit-led cocktail for the event like I would get DMs, I would get messages, like this excitement that I'm not used to seeing because like, you know, I've partnered with dozens of different spirit brands and like, you know, honestly for us, it's like, okay, alcohol is free alcohol, like for the party to turn up. But like with Uncle Nearest, it was a different, you know, attitude. And, you know, that just goes to like our mission and you guys' mission and just being intentional about reaching the Black community and showcasing us, you know, as excellent, you know. And just going back to our first ever event, the only time that, you know, our guests reacted a certain way was when, you know, we decided as a group that we were going to come out swinging up in regards to like having this event not just be a party. It's our first event and we want to showcase excellence. So we were able to get a sponsorship from Moet Chandon, and we had just like graduated graduate school. My other partners had just graduated from undergrad. So we weren't drinking Moet Chandon like that, you know, but that's the bar we wanted to set, and we were able to get it. And I never forget this, them dropping off the cases, like small little miniature Chandon bottles that were beautiful, about like 20 cases. And we were able to give our guests a small bottle upon entry. And that just kind of set PVO up, you know, for excellence. Because like right after that, a lot of the brands started reaching out to us and wanted to partner with us. And a lot of the guests, their feedback was like, yo, if you're going to a PVO party, you know, it's just not a regular party. You know, it just amplified that. And then just transitioning to today, a lot of the influencers come out, a lot of the celebs come out, and we're able to do it all around the world. And, you know, kudos to the spirits because like they amplify the event and they amplify what we're already great at, you know, like when it comes to relationships, I had that. When it comes to, you know, just building a creative environment, we already had that. But when you add the spirits, in addition to a spirit that leads with intention, it just makes everything better. And just two more other examples I'll give is we created an all-woman brunch called the Pioneer Brunch, and we partnered with Maker's Mark. And the great thing about that partnership was they already had an initiative called Make Her Mark. So it's like when they came across us, they reached out to us and they said, we would love to partner with you guys, knowing that you're going to have like, you know, the influential women and you're putting together this safe space where women could come and let their hair down and, you know, build community. It just worked, you know? So so that's another example that amplified our brand and our company and has created a successful series. You know, shout out to Sade. She was the host to one of those Pioneer brunches that, you know, till this day, women that attended that brunch would say like, Nas, I met someone there and I got a job, you know? So stuff like that. Or they're going on trips, you know, and they met at the brunch. So, you know, kudos. And I owe a lot to the brand Maker's Mark. We actually, in addition to that, created a digital platform on WhatsApp called, you know, the Maker's Girls, right? So they're in the group chat, you know, texting, like going on. And it goes to show how powerful a spirit brand can help your brand if done right. And lastly, for the men, we created something called Gentlemental Vibes, the Gentlemental Vibes dinner. And Johnny Walker got behind us. And
we got to get you some Pronghorn brand.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like
Walker is from Diageo, which is one of our England masters. So shout out to Diageo.
First and foremost, moving forward, I only want to be Pronghorn.
Yeah.
Or Diageo. But as a black man, as a man, you know, we felt like, and I'm just giving examples from the room. John, exactly, you know. But like as a man, it's like their thing is like you got to walk no matter what. You know, you got to walk. You fall down, you get up, you walk, right? So, you know, that was the message, right? It's like, but instead of just getting up and walking, we can't suffer in silence, right? So getting up and walking, but as men, we would just suffer in silence. We won't talk. Women, you guys do a great job going to brunches and talking and, you know, getting deep and like not just having surface level conversations. Us men, we're just asking, you know, did you watch the game last night? Meanwhile, your house is burning down. So the message was like, look, we get up, we walk, Johnny Walker men, but at the end of the day, we can't suffer in silence, and we need to come together and be transparent and be vulnerable with one another. And that has been a successful event. So yeah, that's it. I appreciate you guys.
I love that. So I'll just say one thing to that. I think is a really good example of what Erin was saying about the ecosystem. Because, you know, you're creating these events that are sort of underwritten by these brands, and then you're creating these communities that are living far beyond that one-off event. And that's what this is all about. It's like, how are we utilizing all of our skills to come together as a collective to build up our culture, right, Frank?
Yeah. And we know how to connect and have a good time better than anybody.
Absolutely.
They do it for a living. Yeah, and we shouldn't be ashamed of that. So I think, you know, okay, so we are out of time, but I do want to take one last round and, you know, just tell me what you're most excited about looking, you know, at the future of your industry, you know, what you're working on, like what gets you out of bed and makes you most excited. Erin, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think the one thing that makes me super excited about Pronghorn is when you look at all the data, there's been probably only one acquisition of a Black-owned brand, which I would say was Doucet. So not something that was built by himself. And so, and what we want to do at Pronghorn is figure out how do we build a brand that we could actually sell and have acquired by one of these big suppliers and or VC fund, where a Black family is getting a payout, a founder is getting a payout. Yeah. It's like, even if it's for 50 million, 100 million, like, let's put the Black community on the map for flipping, building a brand.
Wow.
It was tough. Sorry. So catchy. We got a rhythm going here. You know, I'm working on something really interesting that I'm excited about. So my book is sort of one part memoir, 2 part self-help. And a lot of young women read my book and they're like, oh my God, it changed my life. I read it 3 times, all these different things and this feedback. And it's called What Mommy Never Told You, A Woman's Guide to the Next Phase of Life. You can get it on Amazon.
Yes.
So audio, digital, and print, all the things.
Oh.
So yeah, sorry. But nonetheless, so really developing a curriculum out of this sort of narrative from the book has been amazing. And I've started to work with young women, like high school and high school and freshmen in college, high school seniors, freshmen in college, to teach them some of the skills that I talk about in the book. And I'm thinking about the next generation of women and how we're contributing to the world. And that like wakes me up in the morning.
Love that. I'm excited about what we're doing at Pronghorn. We're really focused on that, right? By year 10, it will drive $2.4 billion of economic value. So singularly focused on getting to that mission. But I want to also say, and I'm extremely excited about this, is we are hiring in our industry. There are 1,000 open jobs right now. Average salary is about $100,000, but it impacts $1.2 million top line value in the industry. So we're hiring everything from accountants to engineers to assistants. So really, we are looking for incredible people. You don't like your job? It's a fun industry. We celebrate. And you don't have to be a person who actually drinks alcohol. It's just like any other industry. You see a bottle, I think it's hard. You don't realize like, oh, I've seen this bottle. Well, probably a couple hundred people work on that brand, right? So just encourage you to come out. It's an opportunity to become an entrepreneur. And we are also investing. So we are sharing information and we are writing cash checks anywhere between $50,000 to $1.5 million, depending upon where you are at your level. We are looking for incredible brands. You do not have to know about this industry. If you have a great idea or great interest and you're interested in maybe starting your own brand or something adjacent to the industry, that's printing labels, right? That's marketing companies. That is accountants. There's a lot of room in this multi-billion-dollar industry. We have been historically woefully underrepresented. We are going to change that, but we need your help.
And 7 Part Global is actually in the room for anyone that's looking for any of those roles that Dia just mentioned. There's an amazing recruiter in the back that can help you get placed.
That is so major. I mean, I think when we come into these spaces, it can sometimes feel like scarcity or lack. So to have you sit here and say, I have 1,000 jobs.
Yeah.
That is so major.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. Nah, it's okay.
So for me, it's like the floodgates for cultural exchange have opened up in a way I've never seen. In regards to the African diaspora, growing up, every summer, my parents would take us to Nigeria, just to enjoy the summers. And then when I got to high school, I actually went there and lived in Nigeria full time. And I would come back like every summer, to New Jersey, the New York area, and I would not say a thing about what happened in Nigeria because it wasn't embraced back then, But like now, it's like I said, the floodgates have opened up, and fast forward, our first event in Nigeria, we were able to bring out 700 people, and Moet Chandon sponsored, and we were able to carry out that Black excellence, that opulence, that that look, our first year, and that amplified the event, and that's what I would like to say, that like I said, I've been traveling to Nigeria and back, and Africa and back for years, and it's just nothing like I've ever seen, and I'm loving it. And I would love to see Pronghorn, Arabic still come, but yeah, let's go. But
Well, thank you all. This has been absolutely incredible, as always. I hope that you all feel like you took something away from this conversation. Again, it is surreal. We started out saying it's surreal to be here. So appreciate you guys sharing this space and this moment.
Thanks for putting this together.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.